Welcome to this week's session with the Putnam County District Library and the Guiding Ohio Online Grant. This is Shelley, and we began the first part of January looking at Microsoft Word and going through all the different tabs that are located in Word and kind of looking at each area in greater detail. And we started out with the home and went to insert, draw, and so forth. This week we're at the References tab. If you'd like to go back and look at or refresh your memory on any of the other tabs, that information is always available on Putnam County District Library's YouTube site. So feel free to do that at any time. So today I'm going to pull across a document that I had started to create. And this document is just to kind of show you and give you an example of different tools that are available in references. So I've got this document that I started out with. Now in this document, I have, I'm currently at the Home tab. The reason I was at the Home tab is I wanted to show you how, and what I wanted to turn on is just to kind of refresh your memory of how you can do the show and hide option here. I'm going to turn on the show option because I want you to see how we need to add some various things in as we work in the reference tab and go back to some of the other tabs. So I am going to go to the reference tab, and we're really going to kind of just gear on a couple of the areas here. Table of contents, which is located right here, the insert, citation area with bibliography, and we'll take a glance at the smart lookup. Those are probably the ones that are used the most often. So those are kind of what I wanted to look at today. So in this grouping where the table of contents is located, notice my cursor is at the very beginning because a table of contents is going to be found at the beginning of your document. So I already had this typed in, so I want to make sure that I get this table of contents on its own page at the very beginning. So remember, wherever my cursor is flashing, that's where the information is going to be added. I'm going to go up here to Table of Contents to my drop-down arrow, and the first one is the most commonly used, and then you have all of these different options as well as the ability to customize your own table or even to remove a table once you've added in. So I'm going to click here on Table of Contents, and you're going to notice it says to create a table of contents, you're going to have some header styles. So I'm going to show you how you make sure that those header styles are added in. So I'm going to say OK here. And now I have my table of contents. But again, notice it is at the very top of the page for my document, which a table of contents is going to be on its own page. So that's why I said we would be jumping back to some of these other tabs. So if you remember right, under the Insert tab is where you can add a page break. So we're going to want to add a page break in so that we put that, notice table of contents is here at the top and on the first page, and then we have our document. So I've got my table of contents, but notice I have nothing in my table. And again, that goes back to the fact that I did not designate my headers of my different areas for my table of contents. So notice I have an introduction and I have this area called attitude. So I need to specify what these should be in my table of contents. So I'm going to go back to my home button now, because remember the home button is where you can pick your different types of headings and subtitles and such. Typically, you're going to be using the heading 1. So if I highlight introduction, change that to heading 1, I'm going to do the same thing with attitude. Change that, highlight it, change it to heading 1. Notice now how these changed in color, they changed in their font size. But if I go back up here to my table of contents, nothing has changed with my table of contents, even though I did add these as headers, so these are what are going to be in my table of contents. What I have to do to change this information in my table of contents is I can click here on my table of contents and notice how this box pops up. Or if I'm back at my references, I can go here to table of contents and notice where it says update table. If I go on update table, what's going to happen is now all of a sudden my introduction is on page 2. My attitude is on page 2. So I would have my table of contents created at that point. And anytime as I would be working on my document and as I go on and get to page 3, 4, 5, so forth and so on, as I'm adding my different headers in, I would need to go to the update table for any changes to take effect. So I have my table of contents entered in. Now, one of the other areas that I had mentioned outside of table of contents was this smart lookup. And with smart lookup, this is a pretty not real intense document that I've created yet. But say you were doing research and you had a lot of different terms and so forth, and you wanted to get additional information. If I highlight, I'm going to click here on habits, just so I can show you for an example. What happens when I highlight habits, I go up here to smart lookup. And what is going to happen is over here on the side, it is going to come up and it is going to tell me, yep, habit is a noun. This is the definition, or it can be a verb. And then it's going to give me more information about habit. It's even going to take me to Wikipedia, and it'll give me all this different information about whatever the term and the word is that I'm using. So that is what Smart Lookup would do. And then the next item is when we go across here, and this is the third area that I said we would kind of look at today, and that was citations and bibliography. So within my document here, I have according to Charles Duhigg, and notice I don't have my period here. I'm going to need to have a period at the end of my sentence. At the end of this sentence is where I would be putting my citation in. But I want to always make sure that I'm doing that in front of the period. So if I click here and then I go up to insert citation, this is going to come up, and I have the ability then to put my information in. Now, this happens to be a book, but I have all of these other options as well. And I am going to, instead of putting the information in, which normally when you put information in with an author, you're going to put last name, comma, first name, just to make sure that I'm get it in here correctly, I'm going to go to edit, and I'm actually going to put my information in here and fill in with last name. I'm going to fill in with first name, and I'm going to say okay, and now it's going to automatically put the information the way it should be. And then I'm going to put in the title of my book, and I'm going to put in the city, which is New York. I'm going to put in the publisher, which is Random House, and I'm going to put in the year, which is 2014. And if I say okay, notice it put that information then into my document. Now, when you're doing a book, you're typically going to have a page number as well. So if I click on this, notice how again it comes up with this drop down that I can go to edit this citation. And if I go to edit this citation, then I could say it was on page 56, and I'm going to put in OK. And now all of a sudden I have the page number as well. Now this other area of the document I have with my attitude, I have again the same thing, got my period. I have according to, and this athletic blog, which happens to be a website, it would be the same format I would use. Click in front of my period. I'm going to click on Insert Citation. And I have the ability then to go ahead and I can say website. So if I say that my author is, again, I'm going to go to edit, so I can put a last name in here. And it's, put a name in here. I'm going to put the first name, put the middle initial M, and say OK. Now I have the name of the website is the athletic. Actually, the name of the page would be the, where is it? 9 strategies. It is 9 strategies to develop good habits. That I would type in, and I would put the name of the website is the athletic blog. The URL is www. The athleticblog.com. And notice I have, if I click here, I can say show all bibliography fields, because those with the asterisk beside it are the things that are important for you to add in. So if I put 2020 and I put September and I put 25, and then I'm going to put the month accessed because I accessed it in January of 2021. And I'm going to say, notice it has, I go ahead and say OK. And now I have that information in here. Now with a website, of course, you're not going to have a page number to put in like you would with a book or a printed type of source. So now I have my information in, and what is nice about this is if I go to use any more of these citations, notice how they pop up here on the side. And I purposely have added some others and just kind of changed names around, but I did this so that there would be more for you to see. And then, so what I can do is I can, if I was typing something and I again use the same source, I would just simply click on it and be able to add it in that way. So we're at the end of our document, and I'm ready to add in my actual bibliography or works cited page. So what I'm going to want to do is, again, just like my table of contents that's on its own page at the beginning, my bibliography or works cited page is going to be on its own page at the end of the document. So I'm going to want to go back to the same thing. I'm going to want to go to Insert, and I'm going to want to do a page break. And then when I do my page break, at that point, when I go back to my references, I'm going to go in here to bibliography. Oh, I guess I should have mentioned beforehand too. I don't remember if I did that you have your different styles, and typically it's going to be APA or probably MLA that most people are using. I'm currently using, I'm just going to leave it on APA, but I'm going to go then to bibliography. And again, just like with my table of contents, I have 2 different options. It's kind of based upon what and the individual you're probably doing your paper for tells you and recommends that you use. I'm going to pick works cited. And when I pick works cited, notice what happened. I've got my information here, and it's all been added. But the one thing that it hasn't done is notice I am like It's all single spaced, all kind of grouped together like that. So if I want to change that information, I would highlight this, and I would go back again to my home button, and I would be able to change this over to my correct spacing. So now I would have it out the way that I would want my works cited page to appear. And remember, with a works cited page, it's always going to be opposite kind of the way when you're doing a document, because you're indenting the first line. With a works cited page, you're indenting the second line of whatever your information is. So that is kind of in summary the reference page, or reference tab, excuse me, of what can be done in Word. And like I said, I didn't go over some of these other areas because the footnote area with the captions and the index table of authorities, those are areas that are not used nearly as often by individuals. And I'm sure that there's probably additional information that could be found out on the web or with YouTube pages if you're getting that in depth into using references within your paper. So next week we're going to be looking at the ability to do mailings within Word. So I hope everyone has a good week, and we'll see you next week.